Now, when we have conversations with customers, right, we have what's called our pillars of our well-architected framework. And when designing workloads, you have to make trade-offs for whatever your priorities are. Well-architected helps you to understand those trade-offs and the decision-making behind them. Now, I'm kind of going to zoom in on one specific area, which is actually cost optimization and even performance efficiency. And at the core of that is really our silicon innovation at AWS. And let's look at three areas. One is we innovate at the hypervisor level with the AWS Nitro system that we first introduced in 2018, which actually enables us to deliver the best price performance for our customers. The second is Graviton, which is actually our ARM-based chips that can save our customers as much as 40% over comparable EC2-based instances. And lastly, our purpose-built silicon with AWS Inferentia and AWS Trainium helps our customers get the best price performance for their inference and even their machine model training. Now you're probably wondering, why did we decide to build our own chips? And AWS has invested years designing custom silicon optimized for the cloud. This investment has helped us deliver the best price performance, you'll hear that a lot today, for a wide range of applications and workloads using AWS services. Our innovations include processors, machine learning chips, and high-performance storage products. This specialization allows us to focus on features that deliver value for our customers. It also allows us to innovate faster and reduce costs for customers, and while delivering increased security. When we look a little bit deeper into our Nitro system, it's in three areas. First is the Nitro cards. And they're actually a family of cards that offloads and accelerates input-output for functions, ultimately increasing overall system performance. For example, our AWS Nitro SSDs offer high performance for your I/O-intensive applications, delivering as much as 60% lower latency. Then lower latency than input-output than commercial SSDs that are available today. Our Nitro hypervisor is a lightweight hypervisor that manages memory and CPU allocation and delivers performance that is actually virtually indistinguishable from bare metal. And the last is our Nitro security chip that actually enables the most secure cloud platform with a minimized attack surface, as virtualization and security functions are actually offloaded to dedicated hardware and software. Now, in the 5th generation for those cards, we even see more improved performance with 60% improved packet rate, 30% lower latency, and lower power consumption, which actually aligns with our sustainability pillar, with our well-architected framework. Now, when we look at sustainability, and we know that it's even more critical for our customers now, our Graviton 3 processors also now deliver 60% more energy efficiency at a 20% lower cost. AWS delivers the best price performance to these innovations in the market and is aligned with our customers' drive for their sustainability goals. Now, if you think as we innovate, this is not just for our compute instances. This actually extends to our entire managed services offering across databases, analytics, compute, and where our customers are also adopting more, our machine learning platform with Amazon SageMaker. Now, let's see this in action. The demo on the right is doing image classification for identifying types of fruit. In this instance, it's actually jackfruit. And maybe it might be used in an agricultural use case where the right fertilizer might be used to identify. The ML model on the right is actually doing language translation that is using our Amazon EC2 G5G instances that are first ARM-based instances in a major cloud to feature GPU acceleration. And these capabilities actually are enabling these two demos to run at a lower price point, and very similar to the use cases that our customers are doing. Now, I did mention trade-offs, and I'd like to revisit some of the pillars for our next demo. I'd like to focus on resiliency and reliability. Now, the best person to quote on this is actually Werner Vogels, who's our CTO for Amazon.com. And he likes to state that everything fails all the time. And that's actually pertaining to any complex system is likely to have a mixture of smaller, more probable failures and larger, more rare failures over its lifespan. And because of this, organizations must expect and plan for system failures and design for that level of resilience. Well, when we look at that resilience, how do we define that? Well, resilience refers to the ability for workloads, a collection of resources and code that delivers business value, such as customer-facing applications or a back-end process, to respond and quickly recover from failures. Now, what are some of the common failures you might encounter? Sometimes you don't know, right? And you are designing for high availability and disaster recovery, and at the same time, always continuously improving. But there is another discipline that is helping customers actually build better resilience. And I'd like to call up Kevin for this part of the demo.
Hi, Joel. Great to
Hey,
be
Kevin.
here today.
How you doing?
Good, good. And I'm really excited to show off the demo we have today. So like what you mentioned, customers are building more and more complex systems. And as they build these complex systems, it can be very challenging to predict points of failure. This is because of second-order effects. It could be because of complex components working together in ways that you don't expect. So as a result, we need a new mindset to begin thinking about resilience, security, and operational excellence. Now, this is where chaos engineering comes in. So chaos engineering is a formalized process where we actually deliberately run experiments which inject faults into the architecture in order to collect evidence and see how that system responds. So we've been working with lots of customers to use chaos engineering to improve the security, resilience, and operational excellence of their workloads. And we've also created this really cool demo which tries to communicate chaos engineering concepts to customers as well.
It's kind of hard to visualize, right? So let's see what we have. This looks really cool.
Terrific. So this demo is called Chaos Kitty. It is a demo we've brought worldwide, and I'm very excited to show it to you on the virtual stage. So in this demo, we actually envision the AWS environment as an airport. So you have two EC2 instances here. They are deployed in separate availability zones. What that means is that they're deployed in data centers separated by many kilometers. And imagine traffic flowing to an application like planes looking to land and go to a specific terminal. They're brought to that terminal through the load balancer, represented by the control tower.
Okay.
And finally, there's also a database represented by this fuel depot. So as you can see right now, all our lights are white. The light strips are blue, which means traffic is flowing smoothly. And now, to demonstrate chaos engineering, we're going to run some experiments, inject some faults, inject some chaos, and see what happens.
This is a very common architecture that our customers follow, and I love the airport analogy. Let's walk through.
All right. So first thing we're going to do is that we are going to make one of the EC2 instances fail. So when I press this button, AWS Fault Injection Simulator will deliberately take down one of these EC2 instances. Now, let's see how our application architecture responds to that. Okay, as you can see, this EC2 instance in AP Southeast 1A has gone down. The light has turned red, and notice that the light strip has also turned red. What this means is that the load balancer has detected that this instance has gone down. It's no longer directing traffic to this instance, but continues to direct traffic to the instance in 1B. And notice that the strip in 1B is still blue. What this means is that even though one instance has gone down, your customers can still access their application, your application, and they are still having a great time. And what is useful here as well is that while your application is only being served by one instance, you can actually collect metrics to find out how the application is performing and use that data to improve the operational excellence of your workload. And now we actually have an auto-scaling group as part of this architecture. In a few moments, the auto-scaling group will detect that this instance has gone down. it will reprovision it. As you can see, it's just done that. The light has turned white, the light strip has turned blue, the architecture or the application has healed itself and is now up and running back at 100%. And it did all of that automatically.
So while that is already self-healing, the introduction or the injection of the fault actually helps our customers look at resilience very differently and to redesign their architecture potentially, right? On something maybe they couldn't have been able to simulate.
Correct, you're absolutely right. So oftentimes what we notice is that yes, things like the quote from Werner Vogels, things go down all the time, and it's through chaos engineering where you simulate things going down and see how your application responds. Okay, so we've talked a bit about resilience and operational excellence. The next thing I want to show off is how chaos engineering can be used for security. For that, I will bring out our security group from under the table. So I'm gonna we're gonna introduce it to our architecture. So a security group is an instance level firewall. It's very helpful and it ensures that only the authorized traffic can communicate to your instances. So I'm gonna press this next button here, and what that does is that it will inject a very common security misconfiguration into the architecture. We're going to open port 22 to the world. So port 22 is not best, opening port 22 is the world is not best practice, as it means that anyone can try and access your instance and download the data off of it. So right now the fault has been detected. As a result, this fence has turned red. So I guess the big question that we have for our customers is that, do you have the tools and capabilities to detect faults like this? So if a developer accidentally misconfigures your application, will you be able to detect that? So we've detected the fault. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to run a piece of automation that will automatically close port 22. So I'm going to press this button, and what that does is that it will trigger a piece of automation that will fix port 22, and in a few moments, as you can see, the light has turned back to blue. Our architecture is now secure again.
So that's interesting. Again, you've injected that. That was a step that you actually had to press the button on, but our customers could actually design it in a way where it could do self-healing.
You're absolutely right. So from this chaos experiment, we've learned two things, right? The first thing we learned that port 22 can be open to the world, which might be a bad sign in and of itself. And the second is that our automation to detect it and to respond to it works. So two things customers can do to improve the security of their architecture. The first is to use an IAM policy to prevent port 22 from ever being opened by anyone. That's definitely possible. The second is that rather than have the automation require a button press, they can actually configure it. The moment that port 22 is detected to be open, we have an automation that triggers to close it again.
That's really cool.
It's automatically healing without any human intervention.
Thanks, Kevin, and thank you for introducing us to chaos engineering, and thank you for showing us Chaos Kitty.
Well, thank you so much, Joel, and have a great rest of your day.
All right, we'll see you. Thanks. So you're going to see, and that was a really cool demo. And just to give you an idea, if you haven't been at one of our summits, Chaos Kitty will most likely go global. So maybe at some point in time, you'll actually be able to see Chaos Kitty physically. So when we look at the pillars of well-architected, you actually saw when we were talking about resilience and reliability, that particular application actually had more than just resilience and reliability. We were looking at operational excellence. We were also looking at security. And it's an interesting concept of the conversations that we've had with our customers around ensuring that their applications are indeed well-architected and using the best of what we have to offer to deliver price performance. Now, as we move on to the next pillar, at the heart of improving customer experience is really understanding the customer through data, right? And when we think about that, AWS offers the broadest and deepest set of services for customers to build their end-to-end data strategy. This covers everything from data sources, how the data is stored, queried, transformed, and then eventually the insight that is surfaced and actually acted upon. This end-to-end flow is actually governed by services, governed and managed by services we also provide in the end-to-end strategy. Now, when we look at that, when we look at the pipeline, we also offer the broadest and most cost-effective set of analytic services. So if customers need to do data transformation, they might be using AWS Glue. If they're running SQL Analytics, they'll be using Redshift. And if they're running some interactive queries, they'll be using Amazon Athena. So our customers have always had that choice. Now, guess what? More choices for our customers, now all serverless. And that means customers who do not require that higher level of configuration can get going faster and only pay for what they use and across these broad set of analytic services. Now, over the past 2 years and then some, we've seen customer demand signals kind of change very rapidly. There was a need to actually leverage data around the customer and truly understand the customer better to transform customer experiences and even potentially look at things where you could improve operations or get to faster decision making. Now, a lot of these things that were being enabled during this period of time were being done through machine learning, right? And when we look at machine learning, AWS has had over 2 decades and has played a key role in democratizing machine learning, and including having more than over 100,000 customers of all sizes and industries. AWS has the broadest and deepest portfolio of artificial intelligence and machine learning services that are delivered through 3 layers of a stack. In addition to the broadest and deepest artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities to democratize machine learning, Amazon is committed by 2025, we will help 29 million people around the world grow their tech skills through free cloud computing skills training, and machine learning education is a big portion of this commitment. One of the things that I get excited about is our AWS Deep Racer League, a fully autonomous race car powered by machine learning that has helped us educate more than 320,000 developers from over 160 countries. In ASEAN, we've been running our Deep Racer League in the different countries, as well as even working with enterprises and corporate of running Deep Racer Leagues within their organization. Now, when we look at the broadest set of machine learning capabilities, right, it's delivered in 3 layers, from infrastructure to services to AI services. Now, when we start out that way, right, the breadth and depth applies to the entire machine learning stack. We are building the broadest and deepest set of machine learning capabilities. For example, I talked about the custom silicon that we've built, right, with Inferentia and Trainium, and enhancing even our EC2 instances. For the ML experts, we provide the frameworks, the common frameworks that they can use with PyTorch, TensorFlow, and MXNet. And in the middle tier with Amazon SageMaker, we've democratized machine learning by providing that machine learning tool to those that need to be able to run their machine learning models. And then at the AI services level, we offer to developers that are looking to change customer experiences but may not necessarily need to know machine learning. Right? So we offer that at those 3 levels. Now, let's see this in action because it's easier to talk about this, but it's good to actually see this in action. And one of the areas that we want to look at is really around how machine learning and customer engagement and artificial intelligence are actually changing the way that we do customer engagement and customer experience. With that, I'd like to call up Charles for the next part of our demonstration. Hey, Charles, morning.
Hi, Joel. Good morning.
So let me frame this a little bit. And I did mention to the audience that we're going to look at, how do we build this right platform to do this end-to-end? Because I talked about end-to-end data strategy. Let's talk about end-to-end customer engagement. Can you walk us through what we're going to see today?
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of our customers are obviously trying to convert their customers from regular customers to loyal customers, because there is many studies that explain that it is cheaper to extend the lifetime value of your customer instead of losing them and trying to acquire new ones. So people are trying to shift from the old model, which was a little bit gut feeling or one size fit all, to something that is much more personalized. I mean, our customers are expecting to receive targeted content, personalized offerings through multiple channels and so on. And to do that, you need obviously to switch from, again, this old-fashioned approach to something that is really data-driven.
Right.
So when we are
Data-driven.
looking at what are all the different steps required to build this kind of capability, we're looking first at how you can improve the data collection and the data preparation, which is fundamental. The second part is really about the model training, the machine learning model training, obviously,
Right.
because you want to predict potential segment and user you want to target versus other ones. The third part will be about how you're taking your machine learning model and you operationalize it, because you want to have something that kind of stay relevant and that being monitored in real time. The fourth part is obviously now you have something data driven, you want to be able to trigger a set of actions. So it's really about the marketing enablement.
Okay. So let's go into that a little bit more, right? You talked about data preparation. So let's take it. Give us some insight here.
Yeah, so the collection and preparation is fundamental actually, because many eyes are about the machine learning, but actually if you look at the whole machine learning pipeline and all the different steps required to build the machine learning models, you realize that the biggest part, the biggest chunk of the effort is actually on getting the right data and having those data prepared for the machine learning model. So that's where our studies show that in general, data engineers and data scientists spend around 66% of their time on the data preparation only. So you want to be able to accelerate that step and to make it sustainable and repeatable, because again, you want to go faster to what brings value, your model, your prediction power.
Okay.
So let me go maybe into detail of how are we helping customers to tackle this challenge. And for that, we have created a tool as part of our Amazon SageMaker Studio suite, which is called Amazon SageMaker Data Wrangler. Why it is so great? Because it helps leverage all of experience accumulated with our customers to really deliver tools that you can really quickly leverage to improve your efficiency. So it goes from all the brings that I mentioned. It helps enhance the data collections. A data scientist, by definition, will not use only one data set, but needs to get many data from multiple sources, internal, external,
Right.
and different formats.
Right.
So getting that in is very, very, very important. Once you have that in, you obviously need to understand what are you dealing with. So the data visualization layer is a second step of Data Wrangler and how it helps. You can visualize, enrich your data, and really go into very deep analysis. And the third part is now you understand your data, you want to see how you can combine them, how you can change them and transform them in order to be interpretable by the machine learning model. So you can increase the efficiency and the power of your machine learning model.
That's great. Well, I want to see this in action. I think you've got me with saving time there. So let's have a look at the demo.
Yes, so let's switch on my demo. So my first demo, in SageMaker Studio, as I mentioned, and you can see this is our entry point for everything machine learning related. So here I'm going to go focus on the data part and Data Wrangler. The first thing is obviously I want to import my data. So I'm loading my data. As I mentioned, we have more than 40 existing predefined connectors to help you go very, very fast and connect your data source to your capabilities. So here I'm going with the S3 bucket, and I have a churn data set that I prepared.
Okay.
The first part is I can review the data that I have because I want to make sure that I have the right set. I want to make sure that I want to visualize and understand a little bit my data to see if that's the data set I really want to import.
Okay.
And then that's it. The data are already imported, as you can see.
Okay.
So that's the first step. The second step, I talked about really analyzing and visualizing my data.
Visualizing.
So
Okay.
let's go to my second part. Still into Data Wrangler, I can create a next step and add a visualization element. Here you can see we have a lot of predefined operations that helps you really quickly, go faster pretty much.
Okay.
In this context, I'm just going to go to check the quality of my data set I just import. So it's important because I want to make sure that my data are not unbalanced, there is no bias and things like that. So by definition, I can quickly go in and start triggering the process, as you've seen.
Okay.
Here we have the result already available. So you see all my data, and we are able to look at all the different features, have a feature summary, and understanding the bias, as I mentioned, the type of value that are there, understanding missing values at potential, and so on. And it goes through every single feature automatically. So it tells me really where some potential value are under represented, when there is bias, and these kind of things. At the end, it even give me a definition if I'm not sure of what I'm looking for.
Okay.
So that's the second step. Now I understand a little bit more my data. I'm going to switch to another part, and the last part, sorry, of my 3-step process that I was explaining, with the transformation part. So
Transformation.
transformation.
Okay.
So still on the same flow, I'm defining a flow of all my different steps.
Are you going to be coding here?
Not even needed. It's a low code and no code approach, but I
Okay.
can also code if I want. So here, while I was visualizing, I realized that my churn predictive value was actually a text field.
Okay.
The problem is that my model will be expecting to have a binary field. So in this context, you see all the operations that are available on the right, but I want to change the churn. And for that, I just can encode my variable. And there's different type of encoding that I can do. So here I select my variable, so it's the churn column. And from that, I can give another name because I don't want to delete the original data. I just want to have another column with the right value, and I will use this column after. And I have different type of encoding available, actually. So if you can see here, because different models may want different things.
Okay.
So here we go with the simple one, and I click Add. Wait a few seconds. And just like that, actually, we went from the column churn, actually, you can see was true, false, and here got replaced by, the true was replaced by a 1, and the false got replaced by a 0. Again, seamlessly, with no coding experience, you benefit from all our experience and all those predefined cartridge of knowledge that helps you really go fast to market.
So all of the data has now been prepared, right? And it was interesting. So that's all of the interactions and everything, and all the data and data-driven insights, obviously, that we have around our customers. We're now ready to feed it into the machine learning model, right? So with that, I'd love to call up Manusnan to actually walk us through the machine learning and machine learning operations piece. Hi, Manusnan, how are you doing?
Hi, Joel.
Morning.
Morning.
You want to what? So Charles has looked like he's prepared the data and he's effectively saved us some time.
Yes.
Can you walk us through on this next part of what we need to do to feed it into the machine learning model?
Okay, so yes, now that we have the data that's clean, we're ready to build the model, which is the fun part. So today we're going to build a model that will predict the likelihood of customers leaving the platform.
Okay.
And then after that, we'll talk a bit of how we can operationalize the model. And I mentioned the word operationalize. It means, here it means machine learning operations, or
Okay.
MLOps. And MLOps could start to sound familiar for some of you developers, because it almost means the same thing as DevOps. How would you continuously develop and deploy?
I think that's important, right? So there's developing the machine learning model, but then eventually, because I did talk about changing customer demand signals, is that you need to iterate, right? We need to be able to iterate, and this is part of ops.
Yes. So it's like when you deploy the first version of your application. It's not going to be perfect. We need some iterations, and at the same time, for machine learning models, sometimes customers' behavior change.
Okay.
And that was when you need to update your model, and you would like some processes, and in this case, MLOps, to help you do that easier.
Okay, all right.
Okay, all right. But now I think we're ready to start building some models. So we have customers who really like to start quickly. And we have this SageMaker Jumpstart that can help customers really get the first baseline of the model really fast. And we will see in action soon. I think let's see with the demo, I think that would be easiest to explain.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Then let's go to the demo. I'd love to see it.
So here we go. This is SageMaker Studio again. It's where everything can happen with machine learning. This is the homepage. We already saw a bit with Charles, like how you prepare the data, and we'll go right through Jumpstart. So what Jumpstart has is it also has a collection of solutions that you can get started right away easier. And that ranges from forecasting, survival prediction, fraud detection models. And these are the use cases that are ready to use already. What you need to do is only plug in your data. And not only that, we also have some foundation models.
Nice.
Exciting. Some image generations, some vision models, and those are already readily to be used. Tabular models, audio models, like your customers can start looking and sometimes looking for inspirations there. And this is what we said about democratization of machine learning.
Okay.
We built this platform for everyone to be able to start building their own machine learning models. Now let's go to churn prediction as the data that Charles has prepared for us. This is a machine learning notebook, and it has an end-to-end process for you already. You see that you have some setup, how you would prepare your data, and in this case, we are training 3 different models.
Okay.
And at the end, we'll see which model performs
3
the
different
best.
models, okay.
And then we can see and start deploying right away as well.
You're going to get Charles's data, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's go into how we can get Charles data from S3 loaded into SageMaker. And it's literally 2 lines. So
Okay.
that you download one library, and then you input the bucket name,
Okay.
SageMaker sample files, that's the bucket name,
Yep.
and then the path to that file.
Okay.
And from there, you can start loading the data, and then that will be in your environment, ready to be trained. You loaded just pandas, read CSV, and there you go. You have the data ready in the notebook, and all the codes is there. So you can start really easily, and almost sometimes just plug in your data, and you could run and see the results already. Another thing I want to highlight is how would you know the accuracy of the model?
Right.
So that's what we did with the train and test split data set. So you keep some part of the data so that you don't bias your model, so that when you test it, that's a new piece of data that the model hasn't seen before. That's when you're splitting the data, and from there you can start training the model right away.
And you're always constantly testing to test the accuracy, right, of the
Yes,
model, right?
from here. I think next, I want to show you how you can operationalize the model in
Okay.
the easy way with the iterations and the tool that we have readily already on SageMaker.
Okay.
Let's go to pipelines. So here you go.
Pipelines. Okay.
Yes, so that's the name of our workflow orchestrator here. So this is the churn pipeline that's already built. It consists of, I think these are just simple steps, but customers are free to add any steps they want.
Okay.
So here I have some process data step, train step, evaluation, and then
These are the
register the
3.
model.
Okay.
And from the orchestrator, you can start the execution. And you can start seeing the status right away. Put in
Okay.
some names, put in your instance type, number, and then start. And then when you view the details, you start seeing the status. Green is that it's finished running, and then next it will start with the training. Now it's at the training step. And you'll be able to track the status live, and at the same time, you can run as many iterations as you want as well. Sometimes you change the data set, you want to see whether the accuracy is better, and this is what you can
I think that's important, right? Experimenting, because you'll have to look at what the accuracy of the model looks like and a more effective one over time, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then here, this is when it's finished.
Okay.
If all the steps are finished, this is the green that you see.
Nice.
Yes. Okay. All right. I think this is a quick demo to show you how you
Yeah.
can operate with SageMaker Jumpstart as well as SageMaker Pipeline.
Can you tell us a little bit more about pipeline? Because I think that's really important
Yes.
as far as the operations.
Of course.
Yep.
So I think that at the end, it's an workflow orchestrator. So it helps you iterate faster.
Okay.
And I think at the end, as I mentioned a bit, data changes, customer behavior changes. So how would you iterate fast so that you know it's like almost fail fast and you get up fast.
Right.
So you can
Right.
always have your model updated live so that it can actually generate your business outcomes as fast as possible and stay relevant.
All right. Okay, that's cool. Thank you, Manasnan. I
right.
appreciate that.
Thank you, Joe.
Right. So when we look at, so what we've done is we've taken the first 3 steps. We've prepared the data. There's now the model that we've actually taken from Jumpstart. We now know how to operationalize the model. But guess what? We need to put the model into action. We need to engage customers. We need to find out whether or not we can actually enable some level of customer retention and customer engagement. So Charles, can I call you back up and walk us through?
Yeah, so you mentioned it. So we have a model. What do we do with it? So obviously, it's quite important for when you want to engage with your customers that we provide you also the tools to engage. So we have created the service called Amazon Pinpoint. Amazon Pinpoint is really a multi-channel communication service that helps marketers actually to reach out to the customer wherever they are. all the old days of just sending one email and that's over are gone. You can reach out to the customer to wherever it's convenient to them. By by being able to send SMS, push notification, in-app notification, emails, voice, and being able to customize any kind of additional channel that we may not have by default, it gives the marketer really the full power of reaching out wherever the customer convenient point is. So if we're looking back, why it's important in the customer retention, it's quite important because again, customers are not here to comply to wherever you reach out to them. The brand needs to.
I'm demanding.
Exactly, and a brand needs to follow that actually. So engaging with a customer is not a single point, it's not a single touch point anymore. So you need to be able to potentially escalate your type of action. You may start by a quick message saying, hey, Joel, I hope you're well. And then following up to that, if you don't re-engage with my brand, maybe sending you a voucher and trying to see by testing different scenarios, which one brings you back, which one you're gonna claim, and basically which one is successful for my brand.
And we've done this for many customers, right? Where they initially choose one channel and then maybe they need to engage on another channel after a particular period of time, and our customers can define that, right?
Absolutely. And what is interesting is we spoke about the churn only, which is important to understand which segment I want to target. Right. But after that, we also have other services such as Amazon Personalize, which help you define which type of content sent to who. So you really hyper-personalize the content and the offering you send. So it's another layer of really engagement that you provide. So if we look into the interface and how it plays a part and how it comes to action for the marketer, well, basically, it's very simple.
Right, the marketer can access this particular interface, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Once again, no coding skills required, and we made the tool very easy to understand for marketers because it is a super powerful tool, we believe. Okay. So you start very easily by creating a campaign. So you can define some parameters, you can define when it starts, when it ends, and so on. The next step is you need to add a segment or attribute a segment to a campaign. And that's the output, basically, of the model prediction that we had. And what is great is that here, again, you can automate this whole process. So you make it very simple for the marketer who can have once a day, twice a day, or even in near real time, a specific set of actions. Okay. So that's something also that's very important through the segment. Then again, I mentioned the customer engagement and customer loyalty is not a straight line, and you need to be anticipating the fact that maybe your offer is not hitting the target with a customer. And so basically, we provide you a way to monitor how every single step and every single notification of message are being converted. So you see what is the status. Based on that, you can create in this console a scenario or an escalation on, okay, if my customer doesn't react well to this offering, maybe send another one, maybe by another channel, and things like that. So it really helps to A/B test even what you are providing to the customer and how you are, again, increasing the lifetime value of the customer. Again, we said it's a tool for marketers. It's not a tool for fundamentally technical people. And why it's important? Because we provide you also a way to visualize what you are preparing, to see if your content is relevant and it is looking nice pretty much for the customer. Finally, you are able to see every single step of the way. Again, the conversion, which emails are being opened, which one are not being opened, and look at your customer, again, at the funnel level, look at the conversion across all the single steps.
So the marketer can actually see a lot of the real-time data that's actually happening in terms of the customer engagement and actually revise or create a new campaign if necessary, right, for engagement.
Exactly. So the cycles, the conversion cycles are not weeks or months anymore. It can be a matter of days. And that makes it very efficient because, again, don't wait. As Manustan mentioned, you can fail, but it's about standing up fast also and being able to rebalance quickly. And that's what we provide as part of that tool.
That's cool. Thank you, Charles, for showing us that end-to-end demo.
Thank you, Joel.
Now, when we go back, and hopefully that gives everyone an idea that even when we're looking at, for example, leveraging machine learning and artificial intelligence, it is an end-to-end sort of like engagement with customers. I go back to this slide where we offer the broadest and deepest set of services for our customers to actually help build their end-to-end data strategy. Now, when we talk about customer experience and customer engagement, there's some new and exciting stuff, right? And we know that we work with customers on leveraging some of the new and exciting and emerging technologies. In this particular case, it's around machine learning and where it's been going. So the seeds of the machine learning paradigm shift have existed for decades. But what has changed? Well, compute capacity has increased, data growth has grown exponentially, and the model sophistication has gone from millions of parameters to literally hundreds of billions of parameters that we're seeing today. And this has been very much a game changer. More recently, has given birth to generative AI, right? And what people call foundation models. Now, the foundation models can perform so many more tasks because they contain such a large number of these parameters that make them capable of learning complex concepts. And through their pre-training exposure to internet-scale data in all its various forms and patterns, foundation models learn to apply their knowledge within a wide range of contexts. While the capabilities and resulting possibilities of pre-trained foundation models are amazing, customers get really excited because these generally capable models can also be customized for their needs to perform domain-specific functions that are differentiating for their business, and using only a small fraction of the data and compute required to train a model from scratch. The customized foundation models can create a unique customer experience, embodying the customer's voice, style, and services across a wide variety of consumer industries, like banking, for example, travel, and even healthcare. Now, we talked about the way that we're democratizing machine learning to make it easy to build and scale generative AI applications with foundation models. We recently announced Amazon Bedrock and our Amazon Titan models. I'm very excited. Amazon Bedrock makes foundation models from AI21 Labs, Anthropic, Stability.ai, and even Amazon accessible via an API with the ability to privately customize models with only a few pieces of labeled data. Bedrock today is currently in limited preview, and this service will be a step forward in generative AI, empowering you to use the familiar AWS tools to deploy and scale generative AI applications. Now, today, as you've seen for Amazon SageMaker Jumpstart, today our customers can also leverage existing machine learning models, but also foundation models from our Amazon SageMaker Jumpstart and start experimenting. It is important to note that models used from Jumpstart are deployed in customers' accounts and remain private and in control by customers. Values of generative AI come when the model know well about customer-specific information. By being able to fine-tune the foundational models in a private environment, customers can right away build and deploy their own generative AI models. Now, imagine a chatbot that can detail your products, knowing it inside and out, for each of your customer segments differently. Now, one specific area that generative AI has been touching has been around content creation and specifically developer productivity. And that's definitely an investment that we're also making. I'd like to call up Donnie to kind of walk us through Code Whisperer and how we're leveraging Gen AI to kind of shorten the time to releasing applications. Hey, Donnie, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you, Joel.
Yeah.
And this is an exciting moment, as you mentioned, that for us developers, that now we can leverage generative AI to improve our developer productivity. And the key service to that is Amazon Code Whisperer. To simply put, with Code Whisperer, you just generate your comment, and then Code Whisperer will provide the code suggestion for you. It's an AI coding companion that generates real-time code suggestions directly into your IDE, and that's amazing.
Okay, so that's exciting, and I know that there's a lot to show here. You know what? Better through a demo.
Let's do that.
Let's go see it.
Okay, first, as a developer, I want to run code faster. So imagine that you're building a serverless API and need to interact with DynamoDB as database. So we need to import the required libraries.
Okay.
Now, the next thing we need to do is to build a function to save data into DynamoDB. And instead of building the function from scratch, I just write the comment. And then we have the code recommendation on how to save into DynamoDB.
Okay.
Right? And then I can continue building my application by creating AWS Lambda function handler as I'm building a serverless API. So I just need to write the command, create an AWS Lambda handler, and Amazon CodeWhisperer will provide me with recommendation. Now this is amazing, simply because I don't have any context switching and just focus on single canvas, my code editor. Now, for you developers, we all know how tedious it could be to do unit testing. And guess what? With Amazon CodeWhisperer, I can also generate unit testing from a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is amazing because I don't need to switch into any other tools, and everything can be done directly in my IDE. So Amazon CodeWhisperer also supports various IDEs, Joe. Like developers use different tools.
Of course, it's
for
a choice, right?
different jobs. Yeah.
I'd love to.
And this is what's amazing about CodeWhisperer because it has support for various IDEs, starting from Visual Studio Code or IntelliJ IDEA, or you can use also PyCharm to AWS Lambda Code Editor and AWS Cloud9.
I'd love to see that.
Let's go to the demo.
Yep.
So I'm switching to another IDE. Now I'm on JetBrains PyCharm with Amazon CodeWhisperer. And for some certain cases, you will have more than one recommendation. Now, as you see here, I have 3 recommendations, right? And I can easily navigate back and forth using arrow keys. And you can also review the reference code and learn how it's used in the context of another project,
Right.
which is really cool. And another thing that I love about CodeWhisperer is that we, as the developers, we deal with various tasks. For example, at some point, I'm probably building a backend, and another point, I'm working on database. Now, the next demo, I'm going to show you on how that we can use CodeWhisperers to build or work with database.
Okay, let's see that.
So if you're working with SQL, you can also use Amazon CodeWhisperer. So for this demo, I'm creating a select SQL statement to display transaction details by reference to other table using inner join. And that is the code recommendation from CodeWhisperer. And another aspect why I use CodeWhisperer a lot is it helps me to create dummy data. So as you see on the screen, I'm writing a comment to generate dummy data into a table.
That's always a little tedious, right? So
Yeah.
at least in this particular case, we're saving time for the developer, right? So
True.
we kind of short. Okay.
Yeah, so as you can see that it automatically generates the record statement for me. And also that you can also use Amazon CodeWhisperer to improve your security posture of your application. And this is really exciting.
No, and this is important, right? Because in most cases, if I'm trying to get to some application that I need to release quickly, maybe security is not at the top of my list, right? It's not.
Yeah.
And okay, let's see that. I think it's really important.
Let's do that. So in the next demo, I'm going to show you on how that you can use Amazon CodeWhisperer to increase your security. So in this file, I have 2 functions. The first one is the HTTP request with GET method using basic authentication. And on the next function is a function to do regular expression, search based on the username and get the attachment. Now I can just run the security scan from CodeWhisperer, and it will shows me the security issue and also recommendation on how to improve my application. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that's amazing because, and sometimes this is a really good illustration that we as the developers, we think that our functions are harmless. But in fact, they have potential cases to reduce the security and also degrade the application performance. And we have covered how CodeWhisperer, we can build application faster. We can also improve the security posture. But you can also step up the game to get recommendations.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so we can use Amazon Code Guru as well to get a set of best practices for the entire source code that we have.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
so
see that. Let's see that with Code Guru.
Yeah, so let's switch into the next demo. So in this demo, I have a fully functioning application to process images. It's quite complex. I'm using SQS as queue to buffer all tasks, and most of the operations running asynchronously. Now I can use Amazon Code Guru dashboard, but I prefer to use the CLI, which is most
Command
confident
line
way.
interface, right?
Correct.
Nice and easy. Okay.
Yeah, I can run it on my terminal. So all I need to do is just that I can run this AWS Code Guru CLI on my terminal. And we just need to wait for a while. And when it's done, I will have the outputs directly in my code folder. Now, the output from CodeGuru CLI is JSON and HTML files, which has set of recommendations to improve our code. I can use the JSON, but most of the times I prefer to use HTML files. And the next thing I usually do is to open the HTML files in the web browser. And I can check the recommendation from CodeGuru and fix them one by one.
read them.
And it has all the information that I need to improve my code.
Right.
Yeah, and I can also review the recommendation from the CodeGuru dashboard, as it has a nice integration directly from the CLI.
All right. This is really cool. I mean, when you look at generative AI and increasing that developer productivity, it's like it's making recommendations, but it's still in the developer's hands to decide what they're going to use, or even the options that you had in terms of the code or the content they're going to be using, right? But the idea is that it helps them in terms of their productivity and actually shorten the time to release.
Correct.
Right? While still making sure that the applications are more secure.
Yeah, so that's how you use Amazon Code Whisperers to improve your developer productivity and increase your development velocity. Please give it a try.
All right. Thanks, Donnie.
you,
Appreciate
Joe.
it. Thank you. All right. Now, when we think about that, and that was really cool, right? So when we're looking about productivity and content creation, that was one aspect. Let's look at another area where we can leverage generative AI. And let's look at an actual customer experience. This customer experience is, and I hope no one has been unfortunate enough to have lost baggage. But one of the most challenging things is, you can imagine, with an airline, is if a customer, or if you're engaging a customer, and what kind of customer experience you're having as far as dealing with somebody who's inquiring on lost baggage. So while we've kind of framed that up, let's see how we're actually able to leverage generative AI in this demo. So I'm going to call up Puneet. Hey, Puneet, how you doing?
Hi, great.
I'm going to give you the clicker this time. All right. Can you walk us through, I mean, that particular case with lost baggage, right? What are some of the challenges there?
So Joel, if you look at airlines, right, baggage issues, refunds, cancellations, and schedule change are some of the key important call drivers which we are working with our airline customers. So if you look at the persona of a customer service rep, then there are primarily three challenges which the airlines are grappling with. The first is how to provide access to accurate information to the agent in contextually as the conversation is going on. Right, so that's the first challenge. The second challenge is handle time. So, a large network carrier who gets anywhere from 250,000 to 500,000 contacts in a month, right? This handle time typically ranges in excess of 15 minutes, and any reduction in this can have a massive impact on the wait times the airline sees. And third is first contact resolution, which is a measure of does the customer have to call again for the same thing? Right. And any improvement in this can have, again, a massive impact on customer experience and repeated call volumes. So looking at the scenario which you just described, right, in case of a lost baggage, the agent has to primarily do three things. The first is he has to talk to the customer, provide accurate information, where to go at the airport, how to file a claim, and so on and so forth, and answer any questions related to compensation, for example. That's the first thing. Second is he has to create a case because the bag still has to be found. Okay. And third is he has to proactively communicate, like, for example, sending an email.
So in this particular case, I would expect that agent to have access to a lot of information. How is Gen AI or generative artificial intelligence actually going to help in this particular case?
Yeah, so let's see that. Right, so this is the agent desktop. It has two parts. The part on the left is Amazon Connect. That's the contact center platform through which the contact actually comes in. It's going to be a chat in this case. Right, this is where the profile exists, and this is where the conversation will happen. Right, it doesn't have to be Amazon Connect. It could be any other contact center platform as well.
Okay.
But more importantly, the one on the right is Wilma. Right?
Wilma.
Yeah, Wilma.
Okay.
Right. So that's an assistant which is going to help the agent, perform his job. Right. And Wilma is actually powered by generative AI. It is integrated with a foundation model from AI21 Labs, which is available through SageMaker Jumpstart. Okay. And this model is already pre-trained on generating text based on plain instructions. Right. So let's see how the conversation goes. right? So the passenger actually has, landed in Singapore, and the bag is missing. So they have reached out to the airline through the chat function on the mobile app.
Okay.
Right, and as you can see, Wilma is actually capturing what the customer is writing and suggesting responses which the agent can give. Right, and these suggestions are actually based on enterprise content, could be baggage policies, could be SOPs, or guidelines which the agent needs to follow. The agent has the option, as we just saw, the agent has the option to change, right, or edit the responses as they see fit. Right, and the conversation goes on. So this, the agent has actually told the customer what to do, how to file a claim, and responded to question on the compensation. So the conversation will finish. The agent, the customer will do whatever he has been advised. But the work for the agent is still not finished. The agent still has to create a case, and the agent still has to send an email.
Why is that needed at this point? He's already responded to the customer.
Yeah. So the conversation is finished, but the bag still has to be found, right? And multiple people in the airline will actually make that happen, and they need to know what has actually happened so far. And if they speak to the customer again, the customer doesn't need to repeat everything. Okay. So that's why this is necessary. So let's see how GenAI helps in creation of a case as well as sending an email.
Okay.
So, the conversation has happened, the transcript has been captured by Wilma, and it can be used then to generate a summary automatically using GenAI, right? And this summary can be taken and, put in the, in the case. The agent can obviously edit it again, and then a case can be created. Similarly for emails, right? The email also is going to be based